Well, welcome back, everybody. I am very happy that this printer is done. I've been running it for a little bit. It took a little bit to get fine-tuned, and now it's running the way I want it to. It's nice and consistent. But there have been a couple alterations to it from how it was originally designed several months ago. The first biggest change is I went through and completely reworked this fan system. So the old system, it had a duct that wrapped around the end of the extruder, and it had a bunch of issues with that. It worked good, but you had to unbolt this bracket every time you wanted to do any work to the extruder. You also couldn't see the extruder, and it sat so close to the bed that if you had any curl on your parts, it would hook. So now the new system has this little set screw. So you loosen this up. Oh, you gotta loosen it a little bit more. And then the new duct just slides off the front. And I played with this duct design a fair bit, but this works as good, if not better, than the one that wrapped around and shot down on either side. So I'm plenty happy with how that one came out. Get that back in there. Second change came in the form of this spool holder. And I've been working on one that sat on the edge of the bed, or edge of the machine like this. And what I found with my prototype, which you can hear running in the background right now, is it's just a little bit off angle. And what would happen is sometimes the end of the filament would flop over the side when you had a brand new full roll. It works fine once the roll gets down a little bit, but that got to be an issue. So this one is actually a little bit closer and goes straight down over the top. So hopefully should work a little bit better. The other thing is it is removable off of a dovetail. So it makes it easy to ship. And the way this is set up, you can either load it this way, or you can actually pull the pin out, flip it around, if you prefer a front load. So, works either way, doesn't care. I kind of like it loading from the back, so that way if it was to get bumped or something, it's not going to fall into your path. It'll fall up and over, which allows the filament to feed over, less likely to have a messed up print. But that's only if somebody happens to smash into it. I'm going to bring you around for the next couple of changes, because you can't really see them from this perspective. Okay, and so this was one of the changes that I came up with. It's a tensioner system for this belt. And the first draft of this just had a through bolt that ran through the machine. You had a nut to adjust it. The current version actually has a spring in on this side, so it provides a much more uniform tension. It does have the unfortunate downside of giving a slight bit of ghosting, but the slight bit of ghosting is much it's a lot better than the salmon skinning when the belt gets a little bit loose. I also changed the nut that I was putting into here for the height wheel. I decided to put a nylock in there because when I redesigned these, I also changed my printer profile, so I ended up getting a much more accurate part out of it, and then that little bit of drag you would get with a slightly inaccurate part made it so it didn't it was too loose and gave me some issues. I did also do a similar spring system on the bed, and you know, it actually stays pretty accurate. I've been plenty happy with how that turned out, but it's again a little change, but that made the bed run much smoother overall. because unfortunately a lot of these components, like the drive pulleys, are not perfectly round, so you end up where the belt would go loose tight, loose tight, loose tight, just ever so slightly, and that was making artifacts in the print. One thing you guys may have seen a glimpse of while I was building the other printer was the frame for this printer. So it was being co-developed. Basically, it's only a single bed version. There's a couple things that changes, like the belt tensioning system or the belt system for the bed. It runs the same rails, the same width, runs a very similar support system for the bed. But the extruder or the filament holder for this printer, it was actually developed for this printer because I didn't have the side support. So once I developed it for this, I really liked it. Then I flipped it to the other one, and also the tensioning system for the other one, I basically made a copy or a different version of it for this one because I liked it so much on the other one. And whereas the prototype took several months to make, the other big printer that I was just showing you, that took a really long time to make because of all the changes I made through the process and me just not having the time to really work on it. And this one took like 2 weeks to put together, even making some revisions as I went along, because this is the first one of this style that I have made. So it took, there was a little bit of a learning curve. There were some things that I had the bulk of the parts, but I hadn't, there was a couple little pieces like the support for the bed wiring in the back there. I didn't have any of that designed up, so I had to design it, print it. There was also some revisions because I was working on this spring tensioning system for both the bed and the gantry at the same time as I was doing the other one. So I ended up having to stop work for a couple days while I designed and printed replacements. But overall, I'm really happy with how this one came out. Once it was together, it was just purring like a kitten right off the bat. So anyway, that's what we got. This is basically a smaller version of the other one, but prints beautifully. Yeah, it was pretty well good right out of the gate. But anyway, that's about it. That's kind of the update. This printer is actually I'm driving it to my friend's house in another state tomorrow, and then the big foundry special is going to be crated up and off to Georgia here in probably another week or two. So crate's already built. I just got to pack it and do an instructional video on that one before it goes. So that's about it. I hope you guys are having a great holiday weekend.